Super Dungeon Maker answers the question, what if Super Mario Maker, but Zelda? It's right in the name. And you play as a chicken. I mean, why not? So this isn't exactly a normal video, and keep in mind, this game is in early access, so everything can change. And I want to mention this as soon as possible, there's no single player campaign at launch. The developer mentions they would like to add it, but they can't promise anything. Fair enough. Which means if that's what you're looking for, you're going to be disappointed. With all that out of the way and no story to speak of, let's just move on to the game's mechanics. Well, Super Dungeon Maker is a lot like a single-run Zelda game. You start every level with a sword, and that's it. You can charge up to do a spin attack, which does look familiar. Then the rest of the items you can find in the dungeon. So you might get them or you might not, depending on the design. So this is a list in no particular order. First, there's a dodge roll, useful for hopping over gaps or spikes and generally avoiding damage. The second one is a shield. As you expect, it blocks attacks, but you must be pointed in the correct direction. Although I wish the character would strafe with the shield up, it's a pain in the butt to constantly turn around if you're trying to walk in one direction and block in the other. The next item is a grappling hook, and it's extremely satisfying to use. The combination of good animations and sound effects really works. Not only does it zip you across a level, it can also be used to stun enemies. Finally, we get to bombs, another mechanic that reminds me of some other games. Place a bomb and it explodes. Surprise! Super Dungeon Maker generously gives you unlimited bombs. Use these to open up secret passages or attack enemies, although it is pretty difficult to get the enemies in the exact place you want for your plan to succeed. And that's it for now. There are a few rough edges though. I found standing next to spikes to be tricky. Trying to scoot by one set of spikes with a second one only one square away will probably lead to damage. It's annoying and often better to take the damage and continue on your way. Or use the dodge roll if you have it available. Also, I found the doors that lock when there are enemies around will be locked before you enter the room. That is until you defeat the enemies in your current room, which is a little odd. I understand that programming is hard and expect this to be cleared up shortly. The point is there are a few things that need to clean up, and it's kind of expected in early access. All these mechanics combine to make Super Dungeon Maker fun. However, you're completely reliant on other people making dungeons. Yes, you can make them yourself, but that isn't going to be as much fun to play through. And I want to remind you that there is no single player game. And while the developer is considering it, there isn't a promise. Super Dungeon Maker is a single player game heavily reliant on the community, which could have the exact same issues as a small multiplayer game. The few levels that are included from the developer are nice, but there's only 2 tile sets so far and limited enemies. The good news is the base game is very good, so adding in more content is always the place you want to be in with an early access title. The real meat of the game is the user-created online dungeons. Here's the list. There are already quite a few of them, more than I expected. If you've already played Super Mario Maker, you already kinda know what to expect. There's goofy levels, troll levels, easy ones, super difficult ones, and even more than I listed here. The tools must be pretty good because I noticed all the levels are detailed and use many of the mechanics. And even though there are many levels right now, they end up being a bit samey since there isn't much content to add yet. Before wrapping up, I want to show off the dungeon creator. I'm not a professional level designer, so I have no idea what I'm doing. Yes, even though I watch Game Maker's Toolkit and recommend it. What I will say is the keyboard shortcuts are nice, and I can clearly understand everything I've placed. That's all I can really say, and I'm kind of dragging this out a little so I can make sure to show enough of the feature. I'm really sorry about that. Overall, Super Dungeon Maker is something I'm optimistic for. I really want to come back to this game when it's released from early access to find out it's been incredibly successful. Maybe even before that. The details here are no different from every other early access game. I'm always worried about content, and relying on the community makes it even more difficult. If you're into building levels, then I recommend Super Dungeon Maker. Thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed, please consider it. More subscribers makes it easier for me to make these videos.